Hello, hi. This is a fun little thing I decided to do. I just want to show off the editing timeline for my recent Sonic Adventure review, called A Rough Transition to 3D, My Butt, a Sonic Adventure review. Um, this is on the main channel, of course, being a little outdated Gen Z video. I wanted to show this off because I am very proud with like the work that's been done with it. Like it's like looking at it, it's probably not the most involved editing timeline out there. Um, but for for my channel's like history with editing, this was like the most involved uh, uh, editing timeline I had like ever. So I just want to show it off. Um, and of course, I don't really use a little mainstream editor. I use a VSDC video editor. I'm not sure if I'm probably like the only person that uses that, but I've been using this video editor ever since the Java versus Bedrock video on like the first ever Minecraft Java versus Bedrock video back in season 1 of the outdated Gen Z, and yeah, at this point I'm just quite used to to it. It might not be like the greatest of the greats, but I'm used to it at this point, so it doesn't really matter. And I plan on going fairly into depth on what I did. Uh, I think it's only fair, because it's kind of like a little bonus thing, and plus you can find out all the tricks I use for editing too. So maybe you can get some inspiration for your own editing style if you plan on doing videos yourself, or if you're already doing videos for yourself, you can mess around with new editing styles. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if mine is even that crazy. So, yeah. So this might be fairly laggy too, because this is a large video. Like, not like the largest out there. Like, I'm sure it'll be worse if it's like an hour-long video or something. But it is definitely one of the more laggier projects on my channel. So, starting with this little area, the first camera segments, nothing too crazy. It's literally just like cut out some of the stuff at the right time, to cut out like silence, and also like getting the best take out of each. And that's basically what that is. But I did, for the first time, like, actually mess around with, like, contrast levels and stuff like that, and brightness levels. I think the last time I did this was, like, in a Season 2 video when I was messing around with different cameras. Like, I had the video game OST, which for the first time I was using my phone's camera. I swapped back to my computer camera, which is what my previous videos were. And the video game I was to use my phone, and then I wanted to kind of like, hey, I want to make this easier with my video camera still. Maybe I'll just like mess around with the contrast levels and stuff, and value and saturation levels. And honestly, it didn't really look that good, but I continued to use it until a few videos afterwards, until I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I should just use my camera. And I think I officially used it on the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, April 2nd, 2025. Now I'm just like going into depth about my channel's history, which is kind of crazy. Honestly, I had to check if OBS was recording. That's why that was there. So, continuing along, I guess with the actual intros itself, this has been like kind of a standard for a while. It's kind of like crop it to have like a zoom in, and then this has kind of been like the standard for a few videos now. And then of course this has the same like contrast stuff and fade in as the standard. And I only messed around with the lighting because it looked a little bit too... Like, I messed with the contrast levels and brightness and value levels and all that just because I thought the lighting didn't look too good. That's not really the greatest freeze frame out there. Let's look for something less embarrassing. Okay, you know what? That does it. Because if I, like, it looks like not really that good without it. Like, that's fairly plain, but having that on made it look a lot more visually interesting. Maybe I could have done a little bit better. Like, I still think that it looks a little bit like, I don't know, kind of like blurry. But it definitely looks a lot better than this, and it kind of made it look a lot better for using a thumbnail, which I use for, like, I just freeze frame a moment from the video on the on-camera segment, and then just Photoshop that onto something. And yeah, of course, we have some background music. This is actually Casinopolis from Sonic Adventure. I thought it was a banger, and it made sense for an intro, so we're using that. I don't know why I'm presenting the background music, but yeah. And then typically I just, of course, make it quieter. I'm trying to make like a standard for how quiet I want it to be. I think this has been pretty okay-ish. This is probably the best I can do for now. But otherwise, we have a nice fade out right here, and this time, I think for the first time I added a little zoom in as it was fading out. Like, you can see that, like, a nice little zoom in. I don't know, it just adds extra detail. It's kind of dumb, but whatever. And this entire intro segment is probably, like, the only time that I had the most editing here. Like, this is the craziest it looks in the entire video. Was this, little intro to the review segment, like, small bits of history and, other stuff. It's lagging a little bit. It's definitely the entire craziest part of the video. Like, this took the longest. Like, for example, we have this gameplay footage right here. It's not too crazy, but it has a fade in, and then it has a crop later on, which was actually for a moment when I wanted to get rid of the gameplay footage. So then we have this part of the gameplay footage right here, which is actually just the same thing, but has like a box blur to it. So then you can be more focused in on the flag and the release date under it. Like, we got the Japanese, and then we got the US, and then we got the Europe. All have like their own zoom in, and then for the transition from JP to the Europe was actually like a sound effect plays and then zooms into the white part of the Japanese flag, and then has the next ones appear along with different sound effects. All for all of my sound effects that I use are actually like Nintendo 3DS sounds, so that's what all was done there. A nice little fade out to transition us back to normal gameplay. But then right here I went for a more crazy edit. After a little bit I zoom in, and then it has like this Dreamcast appear, do a little spin, and then it fades into like this gradient of light green to dark green, which was kind of like, I already had this gradient used in like previous videos before, like the Super Mario Land versus Sonic the Hedgehog Game Gear video, but that was just there to kind of like transition that. I thought that was a really cool edit. In the early teaser, I didn't actually have like the spin effect for the Dreamcast, and I think it was like kind of cool, and it also didn't have like the zoom in effect from the gameplay to that, so there was extra development done between there, and like all these flags weren't really centered. Like, well, the JP flag still isn't like fully centered properly, but I did have to fix these to be more centered, I think, or maybe I didn't. I think I did a little bit. Yeah. And then a very quick fade out, like, that was like a late decision too. I think it's nice to have stuff like that, and then we got gameplay, more sound effects, and then a blur with the Genesis and the Sega Saturn appearing. And then right here we got the Sonic Colors box art. I got the box art from the cover project, which is like archives, like it's a website dedicated to archiving all of the box arts, and as you can tell, it's only cropping out, it's cropping the back and spine, and only showing the front here. And then the thing is, the Sonic Colors box art that I did want kind of looked like this, like less colorful and stuff like that. So I tried to like make it as good as I can to be more accurate to what it would be on like holding this the game in person. It's still kind of off, but this is like the best I can do. So I think that turned out well. And then we got this part right here, which is just a little zoom in and zoom out of a bunch of like different box arts and artwork for Sonic the Fighters, Sonic R, and Sonic 3D Blast. This was just me mentioning them. And then we got the Sonic R gameplay was kind of like a last-minute decision. It just made sense here, though, adding the Sonic R, or maybe it wasn't last minute. I think it was there from the beginning. I don't really remember anymore. It's been like a week now. But yeah, cool that Sonic R made an appearance here. Same as 3D Blast. This is actually gameplay from the DX version, the official mod by one of the developers for the Genesis Classics version on PC. And this was also like kind of a new editing style for 4x3. It was actually like grayscaling the background and having like the 4x3 not take up like the entire screen. Like kind of like usually the standard for a while was to just have it like zoomed in like that. And then for a little bit of that, oops, I didn't mean to do that. The standard was to have, for 4x3 games, was to have like that, and then to not have a grayscale. And yeah, that was kind of like the standard for a little bit. And then even before then, it was just transparent. And then even before that, this didn't even exist. I just had black bars. And I don't know, it's just kind of like a random detail that I added, which is kind of cool, I guess. Just kind of a, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more interesting. And then that's just like normal gameplay. And same as that, that's like just the title screen. These are just like cuts between different pieces of gameplay. And then because of the way that I did it, I have like these, which is like if it's an earlier segment of gameplay, or it's just straight up just edited differently, or it's using like actually there's like no excuse for this. I don't even know why I like cut it. Like that's part of the same file, but I don't even know why it's just like separated like that. I definitely made my life a little bit harder by just doing that. Okay, but this is fine because this is like this is the Tails story gameplay, as you can tell. It's copied off of Sonic Story as the name in the editor. I don't know, it's kind of like a weird glitch of some sort. It's probably because I like copied it to have like the same settings. Oh yeah, because I did originally like crop all the yeah, the original file like earlier on actually had like this cut off because I thought like that the black bar at the bottom was like really noticeable. Like I would zoom it all in by like 1 pixel. But then I like deleted it for like a later moment when like the background I was about to fade into like showed at the bottom with that black line being deleted, because I also didn't zoom it in right, so I just gave up and then uncropped everything, and it looks fine. I don't even know why I uncropped that in the first place. It's kind of dumb. So yeah, we have all the gameplay mixing in there, and then yeah, this is the it uses the Funky Groove Makes You Hot that song. And then in the earlier section, it's the finger-based version of Choose Your Buddy, which is awesome. And then we have Sonic's story right here. Basically takes up like 7 minutes of the entire video. Like, all this is just the audio file for Sonic story. The only like complaint I have about this video is because it's like the difference in my talking, mostly because of like where my mic was sitting or how loud I was talking in general. Next video, I hope it's not gonna be like that, but it might end up like that anyway. So yeah, and then continuing along, just a nice little cut right there. Nice little cut right there. Okay, maybe it's not really that interesting. Why did I make this video? Oh well. And then because this is like earlier on in the gameplay footage, I had to do that. And then I cut it to that. And then that. This is just me like talking about the gameplay of Sonic's story. And then this was a last minute decision to add Sonic 3 gameplay. I think I was gonna add Sonic 2 gameplay around the Sky Chase segment because I like said, oh man, I love Sky Chase, but I decided against it, because I just wanted to get this video like out. Like by the time that I wanted to like, hey, maybe I should add Sonic 2 to it. This was like a half hour before it went public, and I already had like a file that was already exported, but then I re-exported it to add like the Sonic 3 gameplay, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to re-export this entire video again just to add Sonic 2 gameplay. I'm just putting it out now. It's been like 6 months since this video was ever announced. Like, this is planned to be the video after the new Super Mario Bros. Wii review. Like, I even teased it in that video, and I was already working on it then. I started to have gameplay. I had gameplay for it done, and then it just went into development hell for like 3 months. I gave up on it because that's when I swapped to this new PC, or I guess it's not really that new anymore, but it's a newer PC. That's how I'm recording in 1080p. But then I had like a nice month of laziness on the entire video. But that's because I was like, actually, it's not like a month of laziness. It's way more than that. And honestly, I think it was only like 2 months of development hell for the old PC version, and then 2 months of me not making the Sonic Adventure review because I'm kind of like messing around with a new computer. I made like the ranking Wii Sports Resort minigames video, then I made like a Sonic CD re-review, and then the Sonic on the Game Gear Part 1 was made, and then a bunch of other like random little videos in there on like my second channel and on my main channel as well to kind of keep the schedule going. So yeah, what was I talking about? I got way off topic. Okay, and then it went into another month of like development hell, which leads up to now, and I had to push it out. I just gave up and like, okay, you know what? No more work is being done. This video is basically perfect at this point. We don't need Sonic 2 gameplay. Then a nice little cut in the audio because I didn't actually fully edit the audio properly in Audacity. So yeah, a nice little cut right there. And this is just mostly cuts for a little bit. I had the gameplay kind of like mixed up right here because I actually, in the game, I went through the Nights into Dreams pinball machine first instead of the Sonic one, and I wanted to show the Sonic and Nights into Dreams after. And yes, I do really want to play Nights into Dreams. Like, I was genuinely serious about me, like, making a video on that in the future. It might not be right away, but I do plan on it in the future. I would really like to play that game. And yeah, this is where I would have mentioned Sky Chase. And then yeah, we have like multiple songs here. We got It Doesn't Matter instrumental. We got Sky Chase. We got Speed Highway once we mentioned Speed Highway. Sky Chase once we mentioned Sky Chase. And then I'm pretty sure, yeah, Final Egg once we mentioned Final Egg. And yeah, there we go. Yeah, screw this final boss with its stupid ending. Screw that. I hate that. And then that leads us to the Tails story, which is fairly the same. we had this little moment right here, but this is because I already edited the gameplay, and then I added the Sonic 3 on later, and I like didn't want to like recut all this to then have it timed right with the audio. But then I still wanted to make it more interesting, so it wasn't just a blank moment of gameplay. Like it would have just originally been this, which is fine. It's just like kind of boring a little bit. Like I don't know. It's just I'm getting distracted by my own talking, so I think it's a little bit more interesting to have like a different cut of gameplay to kind of make it more interesting. Like right there, see, boom, a lot better. And then that leads us to more Sonic 3 gameplay. Then basically it's about the same for a little bit. We got like a major cut right here. Basically this is just me timing it right. Not like the most craziest edits in existence, but I think it's a lot more like different cuts of gameplay compared to any other outdated Gen Z episode in a little bit, and have a nice cut of audio right there because it was unnatural again. Or maybe it was like rambling too much and I originally added in the ramble. That's a nice freeze frame of Knuckles. That's fire. I'm gonna make that the thumbnail. That's honestly gonna be the thumbnail. Actually, no, it won't. Actually, maybe... Yeah, let's get a nice thumbnail. Alright, there we go. That's the thumbnail, guys. Okay. Anyways. Continuing along, this is just mostly the same. Is this Casinopolis? Like, what is this? What is that? What is that? So yeah, this is mostly just more cuts. The background music is unknown from ME instrumental for Knuckles, and then for Tails it was Believe in Myself instrumental. Basically, most of the story segments was just like the instrumental version of their theme. Except for Sonic, because it was so long, I had to put in different songs. And then same as My Sweet Passion for Amy. Basically about the same. I did a lot of cuts. Yeah. And then we got Big. We got good old Big. Of course, it's his theme and instrumental. A lot of cuts. Not too crazy of an edit. This was like one of the first gameplays that was edited, because it was a shorter audio segment. So his was one of the first ones to be fully edited after the intro. And then we got Gamma here. His songs is his theme, and then actually the final boss for him. So there you go. A lot of cuts here. Like right there. What was even done here? What was the cuts? Oh yeah, it's just talking about the lore. Most of the cuts come from the fact that I called like Tikal's segments just lore. It's kind of like a way to avoid full spoilers on the game, like not explaining what's going on, but still kind of explaining what's going on. Like that's what I tried to do there, was calling it by lore. And then of course we got the final story. And then, yeah, this leads us to the outro segment, which had a lot more going on. Not as much as the intro, because I wanted to get this video, like, done. I wanted this video done. So mostly cuts, and then we got the Game Gear games. And even though that this is actually recorded through Sonic Adventure, as you can tell with that kind of resolution, I still wanted it to have kind of the standard of all my 4x3 recordings now, so I don't know, I thought it was an extra cool little detail, kind of keeping it like that. And then we got those, and then we got a nice... I did the same Fado trick with the zoom in right here. It's not really that noticeable because it's a faster zoom out, I think, than before. I don't know, I can't really tell, maybe it is. And then we got the outro segment right here. We have some nice Windy Valley gameplay, and then some Twinkle Park gameplay, then some Lost World as Knuckles, and then Big the Cat and Ice Cap. And then, yeah, this is when the cropping happened, the cropping problem I mentioned earlier. With this cropped, the background right here actually showed like a nice pixel of it, and I got really bugged by that. So I tried to fix the problem because I still thought that there was like a black bar at the bottom, but like no, I re-exported the video like twice for that, and then like, okay, I'm just gonna uncrop everything. Hopefully the black bar isn't noticeable, and there was no black bar at the bottom, like 1 pixel of it. And then this was kind of like a little bit of crazy thing. Of course, just like the box art problem again, it kind of looked a little bit lame. Like, not as bad as Sonic Colors from the cover project, but I did like up the saturation a little bit. And then we do have a fade in. This wasn't as crazy as a transition as the earlier segment with the Dreamcast. Like, there wasn't like a zoom in with the gameplay footage, it was just a fade out to this gray version of the same gradient. And then a little rotate, and then I did a slower rotate afterwards, which, I don't know, I was kind of planning to have that same little rotate after when I did this rotate for the Dreamcast. Like, I was gonna add this slower rotate to the Dreamcast later, but like, I didn't really feel like, and like, oh, it makes it more visually interesting because I did something different with this compared to this. That's why I never changed that. And then we have more gameplay cuts. A shout out to Sushi Pie for his little animation that he did. I thought of this bit like, he posted like this. He commented on one of the things about my Sonic Adventure review, and he said, if there isn't animation of me eating a sandwich, I'm unsubscribing. And then I literally like, okay, now that's actually really funny. I think I should do that, so I asked him for like a quick little animation of that. And then he gave that to me, and it was like really funny. Kind of a short little animation. I did slightly speed it up a little bit, not by much, just so it can be timed right with my my audio recording. I sped it up instead of just like cutting it down because I wanted the entire animation to be there, even though it is like technically just a few frames. But I wanted to have the full experience, you know? And then this is just the same Sonic Adventure 2 box art, but being spun really fast. What I did for that was just copy-paste the rotate really fast a bunch of times. Not too crazy right there. And then a nice little fade out right there. I'm not sure. Yeah, this was just a slow fade out because this was the end of the review portion of the video, and then that led us to the outro, which is the same stuff as before, but this time we have some like zoom-ins right here. As you can tell, I didn't do a cropping like in here because I want to like do it on the fly kind of thing if I'm zooming in my camera for a visual interest. Like, yeah, like for that. Actually, I think that was cropped. Oh yeah, that was cropped because of the sound effect.
And you can later...
Yeah, like that. That crazy edit. Crazy edit. And then we got the box arts appearing right there, which I think were edited a lot, I think. Mostly because, like, yeah, look at all those edits for the Sonic Adventure box art. This is because I thought that Sonic's skin looked a little bit too yellow. I tried to make it more like the peach color it should be, and it's not there all the way, but you can tell that it's been messed with a little bit. I think it looks a little bit better. It's not the crazy... It doesn't look the greatest, but it does look a lot better than what it did there. And then we have the DX box art, which had the same kind of treatment again, mostly because it was like... It looked very low... it had kind of like a really bad contrast, so turned all that up to make it a lot more interesting. They have more sound effects there. I had the Jingle E in the background, and then for that, for the outro is Windy Valley, and then for the last little mentions it was the Fish Hits, and then for the final story is Open Your Heart instrumental. Like, no way. And then this is like last minute right here. I realized that I forgot to talk about the Chow Garden, because this is a tradition in most outdated Gen Z videos with review. I always forget to mention something. Like in my Sonic 4 review, I forgot to mention Episode Metal. Not like I didn't want to. It's just like, I mean, I didn't really want to talk about it, but like, I figured that I should, because I don't really like Sonic 4, so I don't really want to with that. So, it's just like a tradition at this point to always forget something in my reviews. So, I exported the video and then I watched and like, damn, I forgot about the Chow Garden. So, this was like, I put it at the end of the video with a bruh sound effect, which is kind of like a reference to previous videos with me forgetting to add something. Like, I think the first time I ever used that was like the What's the Next Mario Kart video. With like, I forgot to mention King Boo in like what characters I wanted to see in the next Mario Kart. And then I added that there. And it was just, it was just kind of like a tradition, kind of like, if I forgot something, that's how I would do it. But this time I did a little bit more in depth. And yeah, I did kind of like do a little, in all the times that this like gradient effect appeared, there was like a little fade in, I mean zoom in effect. Just make it, you know, kind of interesting, I guess. Cool. And that's pretty much it. We got some text boxes appearing, and then a little zoom in right there as the outro music starts to play right here, and then it swaps to this box blur one with Speed Highway as the outro. And yeah, that's the entirety of the editing timeline, like in a nutshell. It's not the most craziest video of all times, but I just wanted to show this off as a little step in the right direction for my main channel. So I hope you enjoyed looking a little bit of the inside of it, and maybe you can use these kinds of editing tricks for yourself, or don't. It's really up to you. Okay, bye.